Conversations with Nicole. Conversations with Nicole. Let's talk about it. Tell me all about it. I'm here. I wanna know what's on your mind. Ooh, the world needs to hear from you, and I'm so glad to have a conversation to reach the nation. And it's all about you. We'll help each other to discover innovative ways to positively change the world. Let's talk about. Let's talk about. Yeah. Let's talk about conversations with Nicole.
Greetings. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Conversations with Nicole. I am Nicole Everett, your host, and Conversations with Nicole is a talk show based in Tallahassee, Florida, focused on connecting the community through conversations. And today is what I call Wellness Wednesday, which is an opportunity for you, me, and my guests to chat about whatever it is we want to chat about. And today we are talking about being unapologetic. And what are we being unapologetic about? About owning Black identity and culture. And my very special guest is an artist, but not only is he an artist, but he is the director of the Florida State University Civil Rights Institute, none other than Mr. Ted Ellis. And so I am super excited and delighted to have him with me tonight. But before I bring him on, I need to hear from you. Where are you tuning in from? In the comments, if you don't mind, please put your city, your state, so we can give you a shout out. This promises to be an engaging conversation. We definitely welcome your comments, your questions. This is an opportunity for us to interact with one another and a safe space for us to do that. And so I am flying in from the hip hop symposium that DJ Demp had tonight at TCC. What a wonderful event. Myself and Darius Dr. Baker was my co-moderator. We had a 6-panel of just hip hop experts. TJ Chapman, TJ's DJ Demp, Dr. Gian Jones, Professor Maurice Johnson, as well as Dr. Lisa and Adrian A.D. Dickey. And so we had a phenomenal conversation about just 50 years of hip hop culture, how hip hop relates to occupation and the young folks. And it was just phenomenal. So Demp Week is going on all week. So you definitely want to check out the website, dempweek.com, for all of the events. Sunday will be the closeout event, which will be the Fat Cat at the Moon. So it's been a power pack week already. We just at Wednesday, but it's been something every night. All right. So I see some folks are joining us. My mom down in Miami. Thank you for being here, Ma. I appreciate you so much. Miss Tracy Golay here in Tallahassee. Thank you for being here, Tracy. Y'all tag a friend. Let them know they need to be here with us. Please like, please share, and join the conversation. I promise you, this is going to be a great conversation. So I am going to go ahead and read some of Mr. Ellis's bio. So Ted Ellis is a passionate man. For more than 30 years, he's painted subjects that are representative of the many facets of American life as he knows it. He is originally from New Orleans, a degree chemist, a graduate of Dillard University, HBCU love. He has always been inspired by the city known for its history, style, and artistic exuberance. So that backdrop inspired him to capture the essence of the subjects of his childhood in the glory of their rich cultural heritage. Now, y'all, this bio is really, really long, so I'm going to try to just hit the high points. But he graduated with his master's degree in museum studies at Southern University in New Orleans, back in May of 2020. He also, again, as I stated, is the director of Florida State University Civil Rights Institute, which I had the great pleasure of attending the grand opening of that back in 2018, and actually met Mr. Ellis at that time. But he is now the director, which we are super excited about that. And so he now is in Tallahassee, the very first Civil Rights Institute in the state university system is here at Florida State. And prior to receiving this historical position, he was employed as the director of Southern University at New Orleans Museum of Art. He has been recognized as an artist of historical importance, and he has, oh my goodness, worked with a whole bunch of folks, Blair Underwood, Angela Bassett. These are some of the prominent people that have some of his creations. Johnny Cochran, Roland Martin, Ed Gordon, Blair Underwood, Spike Lee, Brad Pitt. So the list goes on and on. So I am, again, truly honored to have Mr. Ted Ellis on with us tonight. So y'all help me welcome him, please. Yay!
Nicole, thank you so much.
You're
Wow.
so welcome.
Give all honor and praises to God. I mean, it's amazing journey. It's 30 years later, and still growing in my passion, in my purpose, and my faith. And you got to believe. You got to have hope.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the passion. You have to be driven, purpose driven in your passion. And just, people are just going to get out your way, and people are going to support you in that journey. And so, we are all on our personal journey.
Yeah.
I remember Margaret Burroughs. She was the founder of the DeSable Museum in the Southside Cultural Center in Chicago. She was from little old lady from St. Rose, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
And in her latter years, she says, "Young man, what will your legacy be? What will your legacy be?"
Mm.
And she challenged. We had a group show that was one of her last group shows, and I thought about that. What is my legacy going to be? What am I going to leave? That nugget, that jewel for somebody else to pick up, that's valued, and they can take it and build themselves upon. And so I've always loved to paint. I grew up in New Orleans. When I was old enough, I was allowed to take public transit to go to the French Quarters.
Okay.
And around Jackson Square, you just had a plethora of artists.
Yeah.
And I watched in amazement how art spoke, how art said nothing but said everything. And folks would engage that art, from different artists, different palettes, different messages. But it was always enlightening, a moment of curiosity. And then I start looking how folks were really connecting with it on a personal vibe.
Yeah.
And, in that growth, that embryonic stage of it, you're just trying to find yourself. But I knew one thing. I knew that I didn't see enough constructive images of African Americans out there. And so when I would go to the museums, hardly any images. When I went to textbooks in the libraries, hardly any images. Yeah. And I've always been a studious person. So I learned about Jacob Lawrence, Romare Bearden, Elizabeth Catlett, Lois Malou Jones, these African American artists that were socially conscious and socially active. And I took a particular interest in Jacob Lawrence since he was an African American male artist, and he painted in series, bodies of work. His Toussaint L'Ouverture series, his educational series. And I sort of said, I picked that up and I said, that's what I want to do. I want to paint about our culture, our history, and our heritage.
Okay.
And so my pictorial anthology of African Americans in the legal profession, in the medical profession, my Tuskegee Airmen, my Buffalo Soldiers, that all hit home. And I was learning about my heritage culture, my identity, my community. And some of the stuff I didn't get in high school and I didn't get in college.
Right.
And, I served in the military as a field artillery officer. and my commanding officer, who was non-African American, he was white. He said, "I probably know more history about you than what you know about yourself."
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Wow, he probably does."
Mm.
And that lit another fire under me. And so I got even more intentional, and I grew into this artist that has been known as a creative historian on pictorially documenting African American history and culture. So in 1998, I wound up getting this project with Walt Disney. I was the first artist to commission to celebrate Black History Month. And the poster was all over Walt Disney, Lake Point Vista, Florida. It was incredible. They invited my family out. You had Alfred Woodard, Danny Glover, and the headliner was Ted Ellis, this artist.
Wow.
And other opportunities kept happening afterwards. I had a 10-year contract with Avon. I probably sold close to 400,000 prints through Avon, distributed all over the United States.
Wow.
I leveraged that and got a wonderful contract with the Army Air Force Exchange Services. So it was in military bases all over the country. And I just saw the impact of it. And I'm still growing in this space around culture, around the importance of art, and trying to marry it, making this good gumbo in a sense, pulling it all together. So where I'm at right now, I will tell you, I'm not in the art business. I'm in a culture business, and my culture is priceless. My culture is currency. And if you think about, and this is more the business side of it, and as a chemist, you always analyze it. So in every major market of high enterprise, you say Boston, you say Los Angeles, you say Houston, New York, Washington, D.C., Miami, they all have a major museum. And that major museum is probably 70% federally funded, 30% by private corporation and high-end philanthropy. It is big business and culture. And when you look and you go inside those museums, like I did, along my journey, I found that there were less than 5% of images of African Americans in there. And I'm saying, this is where they have priceless artifacts. This is where they celebrate and they share cultural identity. And I said, man, we're not being fully represented in that space. Now, they are doing a better job right now than in the past. And we need to advocate more for that. And, what really helped that along was the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture.
I was just about to ask you about that.
What's something that's very interesting, a lot of people don't know, the precursor to the Smithsonian African American Museum is the Anacostia Museum. That's on the east side in Washington, D.C. That is the first federally funded community museum in the United States. Wow. And it's in our hood. And so that founder understood the significance that we have to celebrate our community. We have to celebrate our identity. We have to celebrate our culture. And the same thing with Margaret Burroughs and Elizabeth Catlett and Jacob Lawrence, the Studio Museum of Harlem, all had that intention, the Harlem Renaissance. You got to think about one of the greatest thinking minds. That's W. Du Bois, Alain Locke. When they had to recreate a whole new image of the Negro, the new Negro image, and the Harlem Renaissance was birthed out of that. The arts and culture was the prime impetus in making that happen. So, we cannot take it lightly. I work at the federal level as the acting chair of the Federal 400 Commission of African American History Commission. It's probably the most important federal commission since the Freedmen's Bureau Commission of 1865. And in that space, learning about the letter of the law. First there's a bill, and the bill becomes a letter of law. But the language and the conversation is centered on your identity. It's centered on your culture. And if you're not being represented, then you're absent of that opportunity. Right. Thus, you have redlining, redistricting. You have all these issues of disparities and inequities that we are faced with. So I will always tell everybody is to own your culture and your identity first, because that's going to give you and maintain the strength what's necessary to go out and do the good fight. And so in my
Ted,
Yes.
can I get a word in?
Oh, I'm
Just
sorry. Go
one.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I was trying to figure out. I only have an hour. How am I gonna
He
squeeze all this
is
in an hour?
he is off to the races, boy. Slow it down.
All right.
Hold on.
Okay.
All right. So y'all, we're talking about unapologetically owning Black identity and culture. All right. We got a few folks that are also shouting you out. Miss Anita Favors Thompson, who says, I have a Ted Ellis creation of former President Barack Obama. She said,
All
hi,
right.
Ted.
That's another story. Yeah. Wow.
Uh-huh. All right. So Malcolm is joining us. Greetings, Brother Malcolm. We appreciate you. Brother Quasi in Atlanta, Brother Ozzy in Virginia, and Brother Kufu, who is here in Tallahassee, and Miss Brittany is on with us as well, who is here as well. So glad to have all of you on. So let's slow this thing down a little bit in terms of owning Black identity and culture. And you kind of already kind of laid some of that foundation, but why is it so important for us to own Black identity and culture?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Part of it I did say, it gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of worth, a sense of belonging. It empowers you. I think you're more focused and you're more driven. Your eyes are on that target. You know where you want to go when you own your identity, your self-worth, and you don't compromise in that space. And you stand fast to culture is it's gender, it's location, it's community. There's a lot of things that come into that place, but it's really your space that you're familiar with, and it's shared with somebody else. You have something in common with somebody else, and you own that, and you stand by that. There's a lot of history in that, and you don't lose yourself away from that. And that's why it's so critical. You won't lose your community when you understand the value of your community. You just won't let it go. And so everything I see that happens with us is centered around our identity, around our cultural significance and value.
So I'm glad to hear you say that, because I think some of the young people may struggle with that today. I believe that integration has done the African American community a great disservice in terms of our identity and culture, because we have, in many regards, lost a great sense of community. That whole, oral history, that tradition is all but lost in many regards, because grandma, grandpa, granddaddy, they not around or not sharing those stories, or giving those life lessons. My father is 80 years old, and he has some cousins that are in that same age group. And one of his cousins told me specifically, because they all lived, my dad is from Virginia, what was rural
Mm-hmm.
Virginia, Suffolk, Virginia. But they all lived on this farm, which was really the plantation for all intents and purposes, right? And so my cousin Whit told me about his job when, because they all lived together in this house, was to go get the water from the lake, from the stream. And if he didn't go get the water, they weren't going to have any water, right? Because there's no running water in this house. There's no indoor plumbing or any of that sort of thing, right? And so there's just a strong sense of community, because we couldn't go everywhere. We couldn't, be anywhere we wanted to be, right? And so I just feel like so many things have been lost. And I think and part of that loss is the loss of Black identity. And so I feel like without, there's so many things outside of ourselves, so much noise, if you will, that is competing for our attention. And so again, this whole topic of unapologetically owning Black identity and culture, to me, is so critical, so important, especially in times like these, where Black history, diversity, equity, inclusion, all of that is being challenged, by our government, right?
Oh, big time. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I came from the great state of Texas.
Mm,
So you have probably 3/4 of the K through 12 books that are published is published in the state of Texas. And so, I was right there during that time when they were saying, slavery was a choice, when they were rewriting it. And it's like, no, that's not even accurate. And if we're not paying attention, if we're not on it, then we're going to miss it. And
yeah.
so we have to be active in that educational process from
Mm-hmm.
cradle to grave, from the very beginning. We have to own and tell our stories, and we got to publish our stories. The oral history is a critical piece, but
Mm-hmm.
we got to prioritize and mandate that. Listen, you're gonna get in that book, one day of the week. Out of 7 days, one day of the week, learn something about your ancestry, your history, that story, those experiences from
Yeah.
slavery through the redemptive period, through Jim Crow, civil rights,
Mm-hmm.
to present civil unrest right now with social activism and what's happening. I
Mm-hmm.
picked up a book a few months ago, and it was by C.T. Vivian. 50 years ago, he wrote this book on the struggles in civil rights. If
Mm.
you would have put that book down and not see when it was published, you would have thought it was written today.
Really?
Same issues that they faced then, we're facing now.
Mm.
So you got to say, what has not transpired or happened? What things we did not learn along the way so that those things didn't happen again? And
Mm.
a lot of times, we celebrate the victories and we sort of get passive in a sense,
Mm.
because the language of the laws change. New
Mm.
bills are being applied. And so when you look at the challenges with African American studies,
Mm.
that's being pushed in multiple states. You got to say, okay, what is it that we have to do?
Mm.
So some of the pastoral leaders, particularly in Florida, said, we're going to have our own opportunities to teach, like the Freedmen schools, and reclaim that and grab those stories. A
Mm.
project that I'm gonna start with, an oral history project right there at FSU, is
Mhm.
to reach out and grab those stories and those narratives, not
Yeah.
only from Florida State University, but from FAMU and Frenchtown
Yeah.
and throughout the Panhandle and every part of Florida. But we're
Mm.
gonna start here, and we're gonna archive and digitalize those and share those stories.
Mhm.
How do we protect and preserve our curriculum? These big publishers, McGraw-Hill, we have to know what they're publishing. So we
Yeah.
have to have fact checks in that. But you gotta really, I'm not saying that you don't love yourself, but you gotta love yourself and understand how important that love is
Yeah.
around identity,
Mm.
around culture, around history, around community. Because if you look at best practice examples of other folks out here homogeneously moving collectively together, they own their identity, they own their culture. You
Mm.
don't run away from it. All that has happened and transpired, the struggle. We are a resilient group of individuals, African
Yeah.
Americans, and that's that piece about slavery. I own that piece of learning how to read, coming out of the hood, graduating from high school, earning 2 degrees, moving upwardly through corporations, becoming self-enterprising, creating my own business and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That has been for Ted. My example has been, I love my community, I love my culture, I love my identity. So
Yes.
everything that I'm speaking and talking about, I've experienced it.
Mm.
This is the real deal. This ain't no theoretical. When I had that opportunity with Walt Disney,
Mhm.
with Avon Products Inc., with the Army Air Force Exchange Services, that conversation was around my identity and my culture. And it
Mm.
also brings that opportunity around economics that we'll talk maybe during this portion or later in another session.
Okay. No, I love that. So I'm gonna jump forward just a little bit because sometimes people join us in different parts of the segment, but the Institute has an event coming up on Monday. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm excited. So the Institute, the Civil Rights Institute, was established in 2018. We had a little lull because of COVID. They were looking for a full-time executive director for the Civil Rights Institute, and so I applied. I am the director, and the program that we're celebrating is going to be centered around culture. It's going to be centered around history. It's going to be centered around the creative efforts and speaking to the importance of the preservation of our civil rights. And so we're going to have, art exhibitions that speak specifically to civil rights. We're going to have a high level of engagement with music and song and dance, poetry. It's the same level of intensity and effort that they did during the Harlem Renaissance in New York, as well as in Chicago and the community of Logan and Washington, D.C., to understand that our identity drives our purpose and our value and our work, as well as the letter of the law. And
Yeah.
when you are connected to your identity and who you are, and you see the value in it, then you're going to stand up for it. You're not going to just sit back and say, well, what am I going to do?
Right.
What's going to happen not only to me, but to my family and to my community. And
Indeed.
all that is critically centered on your identity and your culture. And
Yeah.
so we're going to have a heavy interest on that. And we're excited. We're excited. That's going to be Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. We hope that the whole community comes out in Tallahassee to share in that. The Civil Rights Institute is going to be primarily funded and founded on the principles of your identity, of the historical importance. That means that's primary source evidence. I mean, FSU is a Research One Institute. And so, it ain't nothing about theory. This is about actuality. This is about history. And
Right.
so to learn about that, but we'll share those stories through the arts, through the creative process.
Indeed. So on Monday, the 15th, which is the observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, there will be performances, as you stated. It'll be at the Champions Club West Ballroom on the third floor, 6 to 8 p.m. And some of the performances will be by Dr. Marcia Porter, who is the FSU Gospel Chair, Pastor Lenoris McFadden, and First Lady of Shady Grove #2, Daryl Tooks, who is the Director of the Family Institute of Music Research and Music Industry, as well as art by none other than Mr. Ted Ellis, and as well as Tallahassee's one of the illustrator. I was about to say one of Tallahassee's creative historians,
That's right. That's right.
Elista Richardson.
And you have FSU's choir as well there.
Nice.
Yeah.
So all of this will take place on Monday, because I see some folks asking, where is this? Where is this? Yes, Tina, it will be here. It is here at FSU in Tallahassee, Florida. So I see you, Marcus. Thank you so much. And I see you, Cherise, who is in Atlanta. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. So for those of you who are just tuning in, I am on with Ted Ellis, who is the director of the Florida State University Civil Rights Institute. He's an artist. He is a, what did you call yourself? A creative historian, which I love, but also has, we were talking about unapologetically owning Black identity and culture. And he's been talking about, culture is business. It is big business, right?
Big time.
He says 70% of the museums in the larger markets are funded by the federal government, which I did not know. That is a pretty interesting fact. The other thing that I think too about this, Ted, is while maybe we growing up, like I know there was not a whole lot of representation of us on television, billboards, magazines, or what have you. But representation matters, right? So seeing your image, your likeness on a Wheaties box, or on a billboard, on a bus, and not a mugshot, okay? But doing something positive, looking beautiful, right? With
Yeah.
your non-processed hair, full lips, broad nose, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and it makes a difference when it's projected in a constructive, positive manner.
Mhm.
We remember Good Times, and we would see J.J. painting, and it was actually that was the work of Ernie Barnes. But
Right.
that was the first time, prime time, you saw works of an African American artist.
Hmm.
And you fast forward probably 7 to 10 years, then it was the Bill Cosby Show, and you
Correct.
saw a lot of contemporary artists
Mm.
doing that, and a few other sitcoms came up that were African American sitcoms, prime time television. I mean, you get no better visibility,
Mm.
and you had this explosion in the visibility of lifestyle of African Americans, because you had the Huxtable family, so you saw this functional family unit being there. They had art on the wall and so forth.
Yes.
The after effects of that was a lot of mom and pops were selling art, and we were self-publishing, the
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. I mean, we were taking art to market. This was the first time generationally that we had found an alternative to celebrate, not the status quo museums, because they really didn't give African American artists an opportunity. We
Yeah.
had to find our way, and we call it our golden age of African American art.
Mhm.
Very non-traditional in that sense. So our Vita didn't say it was at the High Museum. Our Vita say on the Good Times Show, on the Cosby Show. I mean, that's
Right.
what it read.
Right.
And then you had these prop ups like October Gallery, the
Mm.
National Black Fine Arts Show in Atlanta, the
Mm.
National Fine Arts Show in Soho. All this was centered around not art, but 95% of the images that were created were figurative images of African Americans.
Mm.
And so there's been a thirst to see the beauty, the
Yeah.
construct, no stereotypes. I mean, not those exploitive images that we saw on TV that was driven through Hollywood for the most part in a big kind of way. But artists decided to take a stand and have a voice. And to this day, all what you see in the art reflects the beauty of our culture, of our identity,
Mm.
even the young artists. So that level of visual communication and narrative is still being expressed. And if you go down to the major show in Miami, Art Basel, there was a whole section and scope and spectrum highlighting the importance of African American arts. And so
Yes.
I'll say that, yeah, they're selling art, but more importantly, they're selling and taking our culture to market.
Mm.
And in America, two things you put into two different boxes. One
Right.
is an asset, one is a liability.
Hmm.
And for too long, we have been put in that box of a liability.
Yeah.
So you have to take control of your identity and your culture. You
Mm.
have to understand the importance of it. You have to protect and nurture it and celebrate it. And you have to challenge anybody who's gonna project a negative image of your identity,
Hmm.
of your culture, of your neighborhood, because it is taking away its importance and its value. And so as long as I'm in that role, active as the director of the Civil Rights Institute, unapologetically, we,
Unapologetically.
we are going to be celebrating our culture and our identity, and
Mm.
understanding the value and the worth of the struggle of those before us have put in to preserve our rights, so
Yes.
that we can have this honest conversation and opportunity around justice and equality, and having the fruits of democracy in this country, and being that example. So yeah, it's a lot to do. But
Yes.
I've been an artist for 30 something years. I've
Hmm.
been 17 years advocating Juneteenth as a federal holiday, became recognized as the official artist for Juneteenth, the art ambassador by the city, the county, the state, and the federal government for the 11th federal holiday. So if an artist can get out here and campaign, then I imagine anybody can get out here, follow their dreams and impact and do the wonderful good work. Like my man right there, bless his heart. He's going right there. John Lewis. But we can make that difference. Keep the Dream Alive, that's right behind me. That was commissioned by Philip Morris. That went on their Guide to Black Organizations. And so the impact of images when folks were looking at that, was saying, oh my goodness, that piece, you got a judge in there, you got an African-American astronaut, you got a researcher, you have a doctor, you got somebody, a stockbroker, you got an educator. So profound images that speaks volumes. Yeah. And so, the identity and culture is critically important. You hold it like you're holding your child. That's priceless. That can't defend themselves. The same way we got to be around our culture and our identity.
Yeah. Now, so our title is Unapologetically. Have we been apologetic about our culture and our identity?
Yeah, we make excuses about it. We make excuses about our language, sometimes about our dress. We don't own it. Definitely around our neighborhoods. Sometimes we say, in the struggles of economically improving ourselves, we hide that we didn't have anything coming up, and then we get in a position of access or close to it, and we're somebody else. Don't lose that story. I remember one time I had an exhibition, and this physician said, "Well, Ted, don't show the cotton." And I'm saying, "Wow, you came from Arkansas, right there by the Louisiana border, where they had cotton at. Your folks pick cotton. I know your story."
Right.
And I said, no matter what the pain is, you got to be able to talk about that, because they got you ready and put you in that position that says you got to do better and be better at the end of the day. And so don't lose where you came from and who you are. I came from the hood of the lower Ninth Ward. I am proud of that community.
Yeah.
It didn't have a lot of money in that community, but we shared our resources. Families took care of other families. If we didn't have clothes, somebody lent us some clothes, or gave us some clothes.
Right.
Made sure that we were fed. We had a system on the corner store that you paid when you got paid. If you needed a can of canned vegetables, then you were able to get that. If you needed oatmeal, you just wrote it on the books and you got that. And we all knew that we were from the lower nine. And we had the saying.
I so appreciate this, what you're saying, because I think it's so key, for us not to be shameful or, that we should be proud, because we are resilient people. Like, we have made something out of nothing. Our ancestors have, and to the extent that we are here, we are standing on the shoulders of some great people, some giants. Like they endured, they made it so that we could be here today.
Yes. And that is definitely has been the example of our ancestors, our predecessors, right in front of us, on bending knee, grandmother and mom, whatever they had, they stretched it, so that we could have, so that, that was their methodology of doing better for us, and hoping that we understood and appreciated the giving, the care, and the kindness. But, my parents worked hard. They shared as many stories as they could, under all that duress to keep the family together, right. Learning about cousins and aunts and where dad was from. I still don't know the full story, and I'm still learning, still trying to piece that together.
Yeah.
But so much of the richness of learning that, even not knowing the fullness of it, but still in the process of learning, of wanting to, it gives me such a desire to want to know why I'm here,
Yeah.
and what I need to be doing with all that they had put forth and had given me, to be the man that I am right now, and do the good work. And so when I look at myself as an example, I can tell you is that I have not shied away from my culture, my Blackness, my identity. It is part of my being. It is part of my conversation. It is part of my action in what I do. And, I am unapologetic about that, and I don't have to be shameful about that, and sometimes we back ourselves into losing our identity, because we figure we have to adapt. We have to lose ourselves. And so I'm saying, no, you don't. Folks will appreciate your passion and love for self. That will emanate from you.
Indeed.
When I tell you I've traveled all over the country, La Jolla, California, Schenectady, New York, Canton, Mississippi, it's my art and my culture. It has been my magic carpet. It has been my shield, my badge of honor. It has been my identity. And so, I want to be able to be an example of that, So, when you look at Ted, I want you to be transparent that, this guy really loves himself. He loves the community. He loves his identity. There's nothing wrong with me. It's no shame in me loving myself.
Right.
And seeing that you're pushing out love. You emanate out love. You're not emanating out hate, And so you find the right kind of answer, the right kind of solution.
Indeed. All right. We got Sophia Renee on with us. She said, peace. She said, the old church song says, you can't tell it. Let me tell it. Amen.
Wow.
All right. Also, Brother Hassan from Pensacola is joining us as well. Thank you for being here. Brother Kufu says 17 years he was a Christian, 17 years he studied Islam. They tried to get me to change my name, but I would not. I got my contractor's license in 1980. I wanted to name my company something to do with building black. I came up with pyramid construction. I bought I'm not sure what that is, called The Great Pyramid, maybe a book called The Great Pyramid. I seen the name Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid. I knew this was who I was. I legally changed my name.
Oh, what a beautiful story.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Brother Khufu. We got Quasi. He said, what policies do Black institutions need to implement to foster a greater awareness and understanding of Black culture to the youth? Great question.
You want me to answer that?
Yes.
Definitely, it has to be prioritized in their mission and their vision. I mean, Black institutions were built in Black communities because they didn't have the opportunity to go to white schools. That's bottom line. I came from Southern University. Southern University primary colors, initial colors were red and black. Red for the bloodshed, black for Black identity. And so it was birthed 1 year after Pontchartrain Park was established. It was deliberate and intentional because white institutions did not want to have any part of Black identity. Black students coming on campus. So as a mandatory, Black institutions through their orientation, needs to continue to foster the importance of it. And that's looking at the creatives on a campus and giving them space to speak about their identity, to share their identity. The poets, the writers, the visual artists, the dancers, the documentarians who do film needs to have that opportunity, particularly at the liberal arts institutions, to be involved and to be active on campus and throughout the community.
Well, there are several Black institutions that are government funded, and again, with the threats of some of our government leadership entities or what have you that are trying to do away with just saying black. We find ourselves in a bit of a conundrum because we depend on those state, federal government dollars in order to fund the institutions. So, it kind of goes back to, maybe people's livelihoods being challenged or what have you. So what do we do, Black folks, to kind of deal with all of that?
You find the time, the space, and the energy to do what's necessary, to do what's going to be healthy. And we have always celebrated our identity in song and dance. I mean, on occasions you look back at and not have even visited Africa and see something on YouTube and see a similar dance or a similar chant. I think it's genetically deposed in us, and so we have to know that it's the essence of who we are. So you cannot deny that. You have to celebrate that, and sometimes you have to just challenge the system to say this is what's needed and what's necessary in this space. But I found the arts to be and creators to be a very healthy construct. It's palatable. I mean, people love music, people love dance, people love the arts. And so why not, prioritize that into our programming?
Yes.
And that's K through 12 post-secondary opportunity at our universities.
Indeed.
But the students have a big voice. If the students don't see the value or the need, then the folks are not going to act on it. And so you can't blame the institution if you're not asking for it and if it's not there.
Yeah.
And so, and if the ask is not big enough, then you got it has to be big enough. That means the want and the need has to be great. You have to see the value in it. And my thing is that if you don't see it and it's not there, then you're not valuing it. And so for 30 years, I'm saying, hold your nose, take your medicine. Your culture and your identity is medicine. You need this.
Yes. All right. Marcus said, I love our real Black identity and culture. All right. Miss Shirley Wilson is joining us. Thank you for being here. And Audrey said, we need a resurrection of NAACP, AXO, and AXO.
So I've been a judge for AXO and have been in the past, and it's one of our best programs across the board. This is so on point why we need to have this conversation. Yeah. Because if we push it to the back, then it never comes to the front. Exactly. We got to have more conversation. More people in this space needs to be talking about this, the importance of it. Because when we lose this, we lose a lot of things that are important to us. And we learn differently. Yeah. Our auditory skills and rhythm and rhyme it needs to be part of the learned curriculum process. And so studies have shown that, and so if not, then we have to find a way, and aftercare programs, after school programs. That means Sunday school, someplace somewhere. Family meetings, family gatherings.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
No, agree. And Audrey said not enough people know about AXO. Agreed wholeheartedly. I didn't find out about AXO until my son was in high school, and he participated in AXO. In fact, he did a drawing. But I didn't think AXO got enough play. So, I want to challenge our NAACP chapters affiliates to definitely activate the children to participate in AXO and have those community gatherings that the community can see what the children are doing as it relates to AXO. So I definitely agree with Audrey, and I'm glad she brought that point out. Miss Jeanette in Miami Gardens. Okay, she will replay. Wonderful. We're glad you gave us a shout out real quick. So oh, so many things. So the wheels are really turning now. We kind of got this conversation going, but I still want to, tap into this a little bit more about this whole unapologetically piece, because I feel like, you know, growing up, like you said, we maybe felt like we had to assimilate. Early 90s, in fact, the whole hip hop culture piece is fresh on my mind, because we talked kind of about conscious rap, during the early 90s. You had your Public Enemies, your KRS-Ones, your Poor Righteous Teachers, your X Clan, all of these folks talking about basically being Black and proud. And so, where there was an opportunity, I think, for great commerce then, within that particular aspect of art. Now, yeah, not so much. It's what
So,
is selling. Go ahead.
yeah, if you want to get back to unapologetically Black,
Mhm.
African American,
I
or
do.
unapologetically Negro,
Uh-huh.
that sense of work, because if we look at it as a function of time and period with names and so forth, that change. But communities, once you have ownership, once you're seasoned in your value system, your construct of your identity, you never abandon community.
Mm,
Community will always have value,
yeah.
particularly from where you're from. And if we have the right kind of information,
Mm.
the cultural nutrition,
Okay. I like
cultural
that.
nutrition,
Cultural nutrition.
cultural
Okay.
nutrition. It seeds you right, because your communities will never lose value.
Okay.
Pretty much all African American communities are broken.
Mm,
Can they self-sustain themselves right now?
right.
We had a shared value system. I was trying to explain when we were growing up. If you didn't have enough money, then your neighbor who was the plumber came and fixed your plumbing.
Yep.
The electrician, you bartered, you shared. There was a common interest in the community. You can go borrow from your neighbor, and it was okay, and you felt it was safe.
Right.
When your dad got on that front porch and blew his whistle, every kid knew that it was time to get back home.
Right.
You had to come back home, and it was okay. Or you got into somebody's house when it was dark and says, I'm over by Mr. Leroy's house, Mom.
Mm,
I'll get there. And Mr. Leroy would walk you down to your house if it was 4 or 5 blocks to make sure that you got home.
right.
A sense of community value and worth and
Yeah.
trust and care,
Mm,
and it was community love
yeah.
that we built upon. And so we were able to get out of that, but we also came back to that community.
Indeed.
But we shared our cultural unapologetic values and work.
Yeah.
That's find me a community that really exists like that right now. That found a way to be self-sufficient. We argue because we were from the lower ninth ward. We needed to have a healthcare facility, and
Mm-hmm.
we got one built down there. The
Yeah.
councilman made sure that happened. We
Mm,
didn't have a firehouse. We got that. We had a police station. We had Pugler's supermarket. This little old poor Black community got together and said, these are the things that we need.
yeah.
Even if we didn't have it, the folks saw that collectively we made the ask. And other folks said, you know what? We need to get that, because if they're going to support it, we're going to be able to do good business.
Yeah. I think it exists in pockets. We just, probably don't hear about it by and large. Hassan said we must continue to expose our youth to our real culture and identity. And he has a youth mentoring program that he does in Pensacola, for boys, Black boys. Quasi, given the current attack on Black culture and history, should so-called Black leadership formulate a national and international Black history program to be taught in churches, mosques, temples, etc.?
Yeah, I definitely, he's right on point. if you're gonna own your identity and your culture, then you got to publish and create curriculum and programs around that specifically. I mean, that's where it's at. Your self-worth and self-value is right there. You spot on.
Audrey said the Gen X, Gen Z are representing on a number of platforms, and history repeats, and we are seeing the unity from the 70s rising. We are just not unified enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We siloed. We need to move beyond that. The mode of communication is there, so it's no excuse. I mean, so you can socialize using technology. It's just building a platform. Let's think about even some spaces. How do we leverage where 400,000 people come to the Essence Festival? Primarily, our culture caretakers and our women. What messaging are we going to do there in that platform? How do we leverage that? On multiple fronts. I think I can't express how important the culture and identity piece is, and being unapologetic, because the world is global now. You have to find who you are. You got to stand and leverage that, because that's gonna be your currency, your capital is your identity when you have nothing else, and that's going to open up the opportunities for you. And so everybody wants to learn about other folks' culture and identity and share it. And when you're confident in that space and sharing it, well, I'll use myself as an example. The Walt Disneys, the Merck Pharmaceuticals, the Exxon Mobils, Congress. I mean, a plethora of opportunities, because I've learned as much as I can about myself and my community in that space, and I was willing to share that and communicate it with others. And even if I didn't know all that I need to know about myself, I'm still in the process of learning and sharing. And folks who appreciate their own culture respect that.
I'm gonna interrupt just a moment, because that actually was going to be my question. Like, how would you recommend somebody learn themselves, especially if they don't have all of the pieces? Maybe they don't have, grandma and granddaddy there to fill in some of the gaps, or even parents to fill in the gaps, right? So what would be your recommendation in terms of how they can learn self?
It's conversation with your elders. It's going to we had half price bookstores in Texas. I was a little bookworm, so I pick up my books. Amazon, we have no excuse not to. You go to Amazon and you put African American studies. I mean, you'll find African American authors on every subject matter. And read a little bit each day. I'm into multiple books in my house. I'm sort of ADD on it. Pull the information here, put it back down, pick something else up over here. You got YouTube. YouTube has great information on there. You got to fact check some of it, to make sure of it. Primary source evidence and stuff like that. But just to have the curiosity to want to. You got to want to, because you're falling in love with yourself. You want to know everything about self.
Yes. So get curious, lean in, talk to your elders. That is huge.
That's the cultural nutrition piece.
Yes.
It's your vitamin. It's your source around self-sustaining who you are. It's necessary. It's needed.
Indeed, which is why I love to
have, because we got to work hard. You're gonna work hard all day. Now that's that piece with working smart.
Yes.
And so something about learning keeps you young.
Yes.
It keeps the mind active and keeps you involved, and it keeps you moving, and you want to live a life of fullness. And so. Wow, look, man, 60 years didn't pass. And so and it's still moving, and I'm still learning, and I'm having fun in that,
Yes.
And around being unapologetic about owning your Black identity and culture.
Mm-hmm.
um, there's so much rewards in that, you
Yeah.
know. There's somebody who I look at and met along the way in my journey, and he
Mm-hmm.
owns a lot of my art, man. But he is hot on his, and he's unapologetic about it. That's Roland Martin.
Okay.
Roland probably still reading 5 books a week or something like that,
Wow.
about African American history and culture and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
and I know his professional challenges and stuff, where it would have broken somebody in
Yeah.
that space, when you're a major commentator for CNN and they
Right.
said, see you later. No,
Mm-hmm.
Roland just picked up the pieces and said, I'm gonna start my own thing and I'm gonna
Yeah.
make it happen. And you
Yeah.
watch me, and
Yeah.
still advocating and still pushing forward.
Yeah.
And so that level of articulation, cultural articulation that
Mm-hmm.
you can have with others, you do that because you understand your self-worth and your value, and
Yeah.
that you're not only speaking for yourself, but you're speaking for your community, and that's
Yes.
and that's important. And
It is.
so you become that example for others, and every person around you will take a piece of that with them, and
Mm.
they have that purpose driven attitude around culture and identity. It ain't hurt anybody.
Right.
It's helping everybody.
Yes. 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 No, I love all of that. All right. So we are right at our hour. So I want to give you an opportunity to give some closing remarks and tell the people how they can keep up with what you got going on, and mention the event on Monday again and whatever
Okay.
future things you have coming up.
I want to be transparent. I love myself. I love my community. I love my culture. I love my identity. I want to impact and do good. What will my legacy be? That was um, um, that wonderful artist from St. Rose, Louisiana, Margaret Burroughs would say, that you could leave a legacy by making an impact and doing something good. So
Mm.
my passion is preserving African American history and culture. I want you to find your passion and share your passion and help others in your passion. We have a wonderful event. That's the opening of the CRI, Florida State Civil Rights Institute, at Champions West. That's at the stadium from 6 to 8. We're going to have great programming. We're going to have great conversation. We're going to lay out a plan, a strategy around partnerships and collaborations within the institution and outside the institution. At some point in time, we're going to have a major civil rights symposium that's going to be national in scope. Within 3 years, we're going to have that. We're going to build that out organically on that campus. We're going to have a traveling exhibition to incorporate all the elements of the arts. Hopefully, at some point in time on that campus, we'll have a big civil rights festival, engaging communities and sharing stories, all centered around this idea around culture and identity, and using the creative assets to make that happen.
All
I
right.
have an
Y'all heard that first on Conversations with Nicole, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right. Anderson Brickler Gallery, Brown versus the Board of Education. It's the 70th anniversary of that. I
Yes.
have an exhibition that's going to take off in February. It's going to be there for 6 months. I want you
Nice.
guys to come out and see that. We're
Yes.
going to bridge between FAMU and Florida State University with these exhibitions.
Okay.
Engage the students, have the conversation
Yes.
around
Love
culture
it.
and identity, and get us involved. It's interesting that FAMU and Florida State, even early during the civil rights struggle, that the students got together and marched peacefully, black and white, to make change. With the Interfaith Ministries, with C.K. Steele, and we're gonna be naming. Yeah, we're going to unveil the C.K. Steele Speakers Bureau, and
Yeah. On Monday.
that's over the top. Yeah, that's Monday. So y'all need to be there. Reverend R.B. Holmes is going to be our keynote speaker. We're going to have the president of the university there, the provost. I mean, everybody else. So I want our community, African American community, centered around culture and identity, unapologetically, to come on out and support. And we're going to do the good work. We ain't making no excuses. We're going to do the good work together for our future, for the next generation.
Indeed.
I'm a pawpaw now. I'm a grandpa, and he's 15 months old.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm ready to do the good work so that so that he can live and do better as he continues to grow and mature into adulthood. And that's what my ancestors did. That's what my predecessors did. And they did it with far less resources than what we have right now. So we cannot make an excuse to
No,
do what's necessary.
no
So
excuse.
let's continue to rise. She put my website there. That's
Yeah.
all my part if you need. But I'm accessible at Florida State University. I make myself available as much as I can. I get my sleep when I need it and stuff like that. But I want to see us fulfill our potential. Everybody, particular my community who have struggled so hard, and face a lot of disparities and challenges in this space. So there you have it.
All right, there you have it. So again, Monday, 6 to 8 at the Champions West.
Champions West
Mhm.
ballroom. It's
Yeah.
on the third floor. Yeah.
So 225 Champions Way, third floor, 6 to 8. Again, there'll be entertainment, but also art that will be
Refreshments too. Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah.
And they'll be launching the CK Steele lecture series. So you definitely don't want to miss that. And this is absolutely free. Um,
Right.
so right here in Tallahassee at FSU, I see Miss Gloria just said she's updating her calendar. That's
Right,
right.
and the fact that FSU made a commitment, and there's a hardline item with dollars and cents behind this institute. It's a real commitment, and
Yeah.
so we have to build upon it. We have to support it, and I see the potential and funding opportunities in the future for level of engagements within our community that will expand beyond Florida State University. So. Real economic opportunity that we're looking to come out the Civil Rights Institute with programming and educational outreach.
Absolutely. So y'all support, get involved. There are many ways that can be done, but you can start by coming out on Monday. I hope this was beneficial to you all who have been viewing, and for those of you who are catching the replay, I want to thank you, Ted Ellis, for your time tonight, your talents, your conversation. This was great. If this was good to you all, let us know in the comments. Hey, let's keep this conversation going because we definitely need to be unapologetic about owning our Black identity and culture, especially with the current state that we are in. Session is going on right now here in Tallahassee. And so hopefully the legislators are, um, picking up this issue. In fact, I think I know of one legislator who is trying to open up a Black museum in the Central Florida area. So look, the network of Black museums not only in Florida but across the
So,
country.
so, so you have the largest network of African American museums in the country. That's right here in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very active. The Raleigh House is part of it.
Exactly.
And her leadership over there is incredible throughout the
Miss
state.
Barnes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Miss Barnes, indeed, indeed.
So
So shout out to them because I know they work tirelessly to do the things that they do. Initially, starting out with probably little or nothing, and
little nothing, but
have had to fight for every
unapologetic about their culture and their history and
yeah,
identity. Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, indeed.
Matter of fact, they have pushed up the state of Florida to create a Florida African American museum. They're trying to decide on which part of the state is gonna be
Yes.
placed. Yeah.
Yes. That's what I have heard most recently as well. So I hope that does happen. I think it will be a great attraction to the state, with tourism being one of our top industries here in Florida. So yeah, I hope that happens. All right, Miss Irish, she said, thank you. Thank you for being on with us, Irish. Tracy, essential information. Thank you, my mom. Great information. Thank you, Ma. All right, good people. I gotta give a plug for Conversations with Nicole. Of course, for those of you who have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. Subscribing and supporting, and we need all the support we can get. I am challenging everybody to play one YouTube video every day through January 14th. I'm trying to get to 4,000 viewing hours. So you don't have to watch the video, just play it. Let it play.
Okay.
Let it play while you're sleeping. Let it play while you jogging or walking or washing dishes, whatever. Just let it play. All right. One video a day till the 14th of January. That's the challenge. All right. Help me out, family. Help me out. All right. Again, have really, really enjoyed you, Ted. And this is we gotta have more conversations.
We do.
More to get the word out about the great things that are happening over at the Institute, but also to get us to own our Black identity and culture.
Well, I want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, good people. We will see y'all next time. Y'all be safe and have a great Martin Luther King Jr. holiday weekend. We'll see y'all next
that day. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, guys. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.